In the Star Wars that everyone is familiar with, i.e. the cinematic universe, the Force is treated as an entity of ultimate benevolence. There is the Force, and then there is the dark side of the Force, which isn't treated as an aspect of the Force, but as a separate entity, one that was created and fueled by the negative emotions and actions of sentient beings, corrupting the Force. This is George Lucas's vision. Selfish actions invite the dark side, while selfless actions do not invite the light side. It is simply the Force as it naturally is, a peace-loving, benevolent force that promotes the greater good. In the original expanded universe, which has since been rebranded as Legends, the Force is treated as a more mysterious entity. The term light side originated from the expanded universe. You do find portrayals of the Force as it is in the films, but it ultimately ends up as one of many different ways of viewing the Force. The Jedi are the dominant religion in a galaxy of many religions involving the Force. In this space, light and dark sides can both be seen as extremes, and there is such a thing as a gray Force user, a concept that has brought much infighting within the Star Wars community. With all that said, let's get into the more subjective aspect of this discussion. As a gigantic fan of Knights of the Old Republic 2, the Sith Lords, it won't come as a surprise to you that I prefer how the Force was presented within the original expanded universe. In my opinion, it allows authors to write deeper, more nuanced stories and characters. That's not to say that I don't enjoy the films, I do. To me, The Empire Strikes Back is not only the best film of the franchise, but one of the best films ever made. Take a look at this comment someone left me. They praise Kota 2's writing for bringing depth and complexity to the Star Wars universe, which they call simplistic and juvenile. In my opinion, it's unfair to say that about Star Wars. There's a lot you can discuss about the films on a deeper level. It's just that the Force might not be one of those things. On the surface, the films are the traditional good guy versus bad guy type of storytelling. The Force enforces this through the way it works. There is no light side. The Force is good by default, no matter what. It's people and their selfish desires that corrupt this sacred and holy energy that can do no wrong, and is never a detriment in any way. This is why I find the expanded universe's view on the Force more interesting. There's more mystery to it, and more examination on what it really means to have an omnipresent Force connect every living being in existence together.
Perhaps being connected to all life is not enlightenment at all, but simply another doom.
Within the expanded universe and its view on the Force, the Jedi definition of balance in the Force doesn't seem all that convincing. They argue that to bring this balance, their religious and ideological rivals, the Sith Lords, would need to be destroyed. The Sith feel the same should happen to the Jedi, but for different reasons, of course. Within this continuity, however, the Sith Lords only exist due to the actions of the Jedi. After the Wars of the 100-Year Darkness, captured Jedi were loaded onto a ship and sent hurtling into space, eventually crash landing on Korriban. The Sith species were found, and the Dark Jedi became the Lords of the Sith. All because the Jedi don't execute prisoners, no matter what. This by itself opens up a host of questions. Bringing balance to the Force means cleaning up the Jedi's own mess? The Jedi follow the will of the Force. Is this what it wanted? Why would it want that? Did both the Jedi and the Force accidentally create the Sith Lords? Or was it on purpose? Perhaps perpetual conflict is the point. And how best to ensure that than to have polar opposite religious orders? In fact, never mind finding a balance between the light side and the dark side. Can we find a balance between collectivism and individualism? Because it seems to me that the Jedi and the Sith are extremes of these respectively. The dark side is described as being like a drug. The Sith tend to embrace the dark side of the Force in their desire for ultimate freedom. Can you make a similar argument for the light side? The Jedi tend to embrace it in their ultimate desire to do whatever they think the Force wants them to do. Can it be freeing to have everything that you do be the will of what you perceive to be a higher power?
The real irony is that despite what the Sith Code says, I have never felt more free.
The concept of destiny itself brings with it some terrifying implications. Many questions arise concerning free will, but it's such a reality in Star Wars, and clearly brought about by the Force. The Force users can see it.
Oh yes, Andor Vex was his name. The Force swirled around him like a hurricane. That's how great his destiny was.
Great in what way? As in a matter of importance to the Force? Do some people have more free will than others? Can you really put free will on a scale? An idea put forth in KOTOR 2 was, can you circumvent the Force's will? Have you ever considered that the Jedi exile is effectively competing with the Force for control? At least over a small group of people. The Force rewards being at an extreme. The less in the middle you are, the easier it can influence you. That's why Kreia maintained her balance, and that's why Revan trained atheistic Jedi hunters. Meanwhile, the Jedi exile can gain influence over her crewmates, resulting in her being able to influence them more. Force points and influence points are essentially the same thing.
If you walk Korriban's surface, you shall walk it without me. I cannot. This place is strong with the dark side. It is difficult to center myself here.
These could all be videos for another day. But do you see my point? All I'm saying is that the expanded universe's view on the Force allows for those kinds of discussions. George Lucas's version, while making enjoyable movies, does not. How the Force is defined in them is simply too rigid. Take the Jiao Shay, a sect of Force users who studied the Force on a purely intellectual level, instead of a spiritual one. People were upset when The Phantom Menace revealed the existence of midichlorians. But that was a moment where the film suggested that there is some amount of science behind how the Force is able to interact with the world. It specifically explains why the Force only flows through living beings. Perhaps in order to influence environments, it may use different methods.
Force-sensitive locations such as this absorb and reflect Force energy. The crystals are the catalyst here.
One of the longest running debates within the Star Wars community is whether or not the expanded universe is official canon and part of the film storyline. I'm here to say that maybe it shouldn't be. Maybe they should be separate universes. That way everyone can have what they enjoy in the galaxy far, far away. People often say that Star Wars was made for children, and I don't think that's true. People of all ages turned up to see it. Star Wars was made for everyone, and large enough to create almost anything of any genre within it. So I don't think having multiple continuities is such a bad thing. If we only had the expanded universe, a chosen one wouldn't really work. And if we only had the film's universe, then a character like Kreia wouldn't even exist. And I, for one, certainly wouldn't want that.